Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching Leaf by Leaf and Happy New Year 2023. It's starting to sound really futuristic now, isn't it? To kick off this new year, I wanted to do a few different things. First of all, I wanted to open up the subscriber wildcard pick again, just like I did for the first time last year, to massive success in my opinion. I loved the book that I ended up selecting at random, and I'm so thankful because it was a new author to me and it ended up being just an incredible writer. That very book will receive an award. So the second thing I'll do in this video is the second annual Leaf by Leaf award ceremony. Now the parameters are I can only choose from books that I talked about in videos during 2022. There were, unfortunately, a handful of very good books that I read last year that didn't make it into the channel, so they had to be excluded. One of them was The Sunset Limited by Cormac McCarthy, which I highly, highly recommend. And then finally, I'll end the video by talking about my thoughts and plans for 2023. If you're having a moment of deja vu, it's probably because you saw the first take of this video that I posted this morning. I was very excited about it. However, because I uploaded it before I posted the previous video, which was War and Peace, YouTube didn't recognize it as a new video, and so it didn't push the notifications out. It thought it was an old video. In my attempts to remedy that situation, I deleted the video thinking that I had a backup. Nope, I have a very strict process when I do things. So when I go live with a video, I go and delete it off of my camera and off of my computer and so on to conserve space because, it's live. I don't need those files anymore. Well, in this case, I did. So totally lost that video. After sitting with my face in my hands for a while, kind of absorbing the shock and getting past the denial of what had just happened, I'm now completely reshooting the video from scratch in an attempt to get it out today. So this is the second attempt after having completely annihilated the first video. Hopefully it'll never happen again. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to every single one of you for all of your support, all of your incredible recommendations. I've received so many great recommendations. My eyes have been unveiled to new authors, new literary movements, new titles, new translators. Thank you so much to all the publishers, publicists, agents, editors, and above all, thank you, writers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You provide sustenance for we bookworms. During 2022, I took a new job in March, so right there at the end of the first quarter of the year. It just so happens that I'm actually busier than I've ever been in my entire working life, but I think I'm happier and more satisfied than ever. Usually this is a bit of a contradiction. Working harder doesn't typically equate to more contentment or happiness necessarily. But I love my new job. I love what I do. The work's interesting and challenging enough to, keep me energized, keep me enthusiastic, and the people are amazing. I'm still with the same company, but just in a different department. I got to travel to several different places. The last place that I got to travel last year was San Francisco, so I got to make my pilgrimage to City Light Books, and I met a lot of great people, a lot of great writers and fellow readers, a lot of agents and so on. But in the end, 2022 was both an extremely fruitful and satisfying and pleasurable year of reading. I read so many great books. But when I sat down to really look at all the different awards I wanted to hand out versus all the great books that I wanted to recognize from last year, I quickly realized that I read so many more great books than I had awards for. And I'm trying to keep the awards the same each year instead of adding new categories and so on. That way it's more fair and more interesting to see which one won for a given year versus previous years. I think I only added one new award, and it's the very last one, and you'll see why. But in any case, I really struggled to get these awards locked in for the different titles because it's just such a great year of reading, and I have no doubt 2023 is going to be the same. So without further ado, let's start by opening up the subscriber wildcard pick. If you're not familiar with it, this is where you simply just enter the title and author of a book in the comments, and that automatically enters that book as a candidate for my subscriber wildcard pick. So in a week or two, I will go and select one at random, and I'll commit to reading that book and making a video on that book in 2023. So have at it. All right, let's move into the 2022 awards ceremony, or the 2023 awards ceremony for books I read in 2022. Best Big Book goes to The Instructions by Adam Levin. Best Little Book happened to be the subscriber wildcard pick for last year, The Old Rendering Plant by Wolfgang Hilbig. Best Poetry Collection goes to The Master Letters by Lucie Broido. Extraordinary poems. Best Short Fiction goes to Altman's Tongue by Brian Evenson. Best Nonfiction goes to In Praise of Good Bookstores by Jeff Deutsch. Best Fiction goes to Bubblegum by Adam Levin. Best Essay Collection goes to Essays 2 by Lydia Davis. Most Fun Book, the book I had the most fun reading, goes to Cronopios and Famos by Julio Cortazar. Most Innovative goes to Instrument for Distributed Empathy Monetization by William Lessard. Most Emotionally Impactful goes to Knox by the great Anne Carson. Most Intellectually Impactful goes to The Gaze of Orpheus by Maurice Blanchot. Most Aesthetically Impactful goes to Miss MacIntosh, My Darling by Marguerite Young. Best Cover goes to Compass by Mathias Énard. Let's really get in there and show you what that cover looks like. Best Book plus Film Combination goes to Zama by Antonio di Benedetto. Best Reread had to go to The Sot-Weed Factor by John Barth. Best Book I Still Can't Figure Out goes to Thomas the Obscure, or Thomas l'Obscur by Maurice Blanchot. Best Book in Translation goes to Fragments of Lichtenberg by Pierre Senges, translated by Gregory Flanders. And of course, my favorite book of the year for 2022, you probably already guessed it. Yes, it's War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, the Penguin Deluxe edition that boasts the wonderful translation by Anthony Briggs. But it seemed unfair to me that War and Peace would be in the mix because it casts such a monumental shadow. So last but not least, I have a new category for this year called Best Book I Read That Isn't War and Peace, and that would have to go to Hopscotch by Julio Cortazar. I hope you guys enjoyed the award ceremony, and I can't wait to do it again in 2024 for the books I'll be reading this year. So let's talk about 2023 a little bit. In the first edition of this video, which is annihilated, it's in oblivion, we'll never have it back, I basically sat here and sort of puttered around aimlessly and maybe was a little mopey because, to be honest, after I finished my immersion in War and Peace, I was in what someone told me was a book hangover. I was in this fiction paralysis, or this stupor, where I literally could not connect with any books. So for weeks thereafter, I caught up on issues of The New Yorker, NYRB, Harper's. I also recently subscribed to N+1, which I'm quite fond of. And it was great. And it was a fun time of reading different articles and reportage, journalism, criticism, sort of seeing what all is going on out in the world out there. I would go into my library and I would peruse all the spines and run my fingers across the spines, as I often do, but this time I was trying to see what would jump out at me as my next read following War and Peace, and nothing did. Now, however, since I'm recording this video much later than then, I have recovered, I have bounced back, but I'm thankful for that time because it got me to really think about what I want to do with this channel in 2023. And I think the thing that stands out the most to me is I don't want to add to the problem of people feeling like there are just so many books to get around to and so little time to do it. Yet we feel that compulsion to at least buy the books. And now we've bought all these books that are filling our Instagram feeds and filling our libraries, but we have no time to get around to them. I don't want to exacerbate that feeling of being buried or being behind. I want to make sure I'm doing what I can to keep reading exciting. And so what I'm going to do in 2023 is I'm going to drastically cut down the number of book reviews that I do. I'm going to fill in the gaps with a new series that I've already started called Why We Read Fiction. And so I'm going to take cues from different thinkers, different professors, different literary critics, different writers, and utilize one or two points from different people and different books to investigate what it is that compels us to continue to read fiction and to reread fiction. I hope it'll be an exciting journey. I know I have some burgeoning questions and things that I've always wanted to dig into a little more, but haven't taken time to think about and to interact with people about. So hopefully this series will help us cut down on feeling like we've got to add yet another book to our TBR. We've got to break our bank account once more and just sit back and think about why we read and talk about why it is. And hopefully we'll get a good interaction going to where comments on the videos I can take into subsequent videos. So I hope you enjoy the series. I also decided that since I do read a fair amount of nonfiction, but I never bring it into the channel, that this year would be a good year. So in the end, what I'm going to be doing in 2023, starting with the next video, is I'm going to alternate between a Why We Read Fiction series video, a nonfiction book video, and a fiction book video. And it computes to something like 16 books in each category. Well, the Why We Read isn't really a book, but what we'll end up with is a lot less book reviews, and I'll bring a nonfiction presence to the channel. So I hope you all like it. Of course, you know, the plans of man are many. Who knows what's really going to happen? Thank you all so much for just watching these videos and all of your exceedingly generous and kind words. Thank you to everyone who has purchased a coffee on Ko-Fi. I really appreciate that. I assure you it did not go to coffee, but it went into more book buying. So sorry for the false presentation there. I wish you all a blessed and prosperous 2023. Now, let's go and be happy and read.